Thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Before we get into the video, by the way, I want to say a massive thank you to Trevor Hall, who very kindly a few days ago gave me a £10 super thanks. So thanks, Trevor, very, very much indeed for your kind gift. I do greatly appreciate that. And I did receive a super thanks a few weeks ago. I think it may be from JL, a JL or JL player something. So I do apologise for not actually thanking them as well for the super thanks a few weeks ago. When people are kind enough to give these super thanks or whatever, I do want to address that. I do read the comments. Sometimes it takes a few days to get there with regards to looking through them. But I want to say a massive thank you to people for the very kind support that they're continuing to give me. Of course, I have reached 5,000 subscribers. A couple of years ago, I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers. So the channel, despite being 13 years old, it's only in the last really 24 months or so that the channel has just exploded in growth. So I just want to say a massive thank you. I am continuing to work very hard indeed. I do, of course, have a day job driving trucks, or technically it's actually a night job, driving trucks. But I do want to give my very, very kind subscribers and viewers a bit of my time day by day. So a thank you to Trevor. Thank you to, I hope I'm right in saying JL, for the kind super thanks a few weeks ago. Thanks also for everybody's kind well wishes and birthday wishes to my grandmother, who turned 90 years of age yesterday. An incredible milestone indeed. And like I've said already, she's living still on her own in her own house, and have has been living in the same house for 67 years. So just remarkable stuff, indeed. So yeah, once again, happy birthday to Violet Vogan, my grandmother. Anyway, a little bit about weather. Okay, so this is the GFS ensemble here for the 850 temperatures over London, and one thing I want to point out to you is the spike in the 850s upwards around 15 Celsius around the Greater London area over the next 24 hours or so. Then we take a dip down as that frontal boundary moves through late tomorrow and into Saturday morning. We are back in fresh air once again, and then there is another surge in temperature. But notice something here: the secondary surge of temperature, warmth, I should say, is not as warm even as the front running. So the current surge of warmth that we're seeing now is not as prominent, or is more prominent than the second one. And then there was a general flavour of above average 850s through the remainder of August, but there is a downward trend back towards near average. So of course the white line represents the ensemble mean, so that gives you a better idea of it mixes the outliers with the more probabilistic scenario and blends it together, so to speak. So it certainly is quite interesting how the models have kind of slightly backed away from this prospect of major heat. If we look at Inverness here, the opposite end of the UK, we've got, and the model unfortunately is uploading, so we're not going to be able to get the chance to do that here. This is the 850 temperatures of the GFS initially. So there's that area of low pressure winding up. We've got a new feature developing to the southern flank of that circulation that is going to bring a spell of very heavy rainfall, gusty winds for a period of time tomorrow evening into Saturday morning before it clears to the north. Notice the warmth generally stays mainly to the south of the UK here. So we've got plenty of warmth over mainland Europe, and the UK once again largely misses out on any true warmth. Remember, the highest temperature of the month of August so far is, I believe, 28.4 or 28.0, one of the two anyway. And it'll be interesting to see, can we hit the 30 Celsius mark before the end of the month, or is this a sub 30 Celsius month for the UK? Remember, July was only 30.2, and that was only a one hit wonder. One day in the 30s last month was quite significant, of course. So we do have this kind of back and forth battle between high pressure, low pressure, cool versus warm for the remaining, 10 days or so of August here, and it's going to get 10 days, 13, 14 days. So it's about a fortnight left of August. And of course, we had a spell of a solid 6 weeks where the temperature struggled to get above 25 or 26 Celsius. Quite a significant statistic, that, considering that we were in the heart of summer, so right in the middle of summer, and temperatures were very, very subdued for the time of the year. But the overall pattern has shifted. Instead of the areas of low pressure moving from west to east generally across the UK, higher pressure over mainland Europe is now deflecting those areas of low pressure out over the Atlantic here. They are trying to make inroads across the UK, hence why we don't have any clear-cut signal. We have neither a high pressure dominated pattern or a low pressure dominated pattern. We're in between at the moment, and that creates a little bit of a headache when it comes to forecasting. But look at next weekend, by the way, or this upcoming weekend, should I say. So look at, relatively fresh air across the UK and Ireland here, but look at the 850 temperatures over Europe. Very, very warm conditions indeed, especially Iberia and Greece and across to Turkey, where we've seen temperatures knocking the door of 50 Celsius in the last few days here. But if we play through this loop, you can see here that we get another shot at 850s running above 15 to 20 Celsius. But notice the GFS ensembles deflecting that heat mainly to the south of the channel here. So the UK never truly gets in on that major warmth. And in fact, we actually get a surge of even colder air coming down from the north as we push through the second half of next week here, which is very interesting indeed, actually, because look at the scenario as we push towards the final days of the month. We've got the higher pressure to the west and north, and we've got an area of low pressure to the east, and we've got a north to northeasterly airflow dragging in some bona fide chilly air for late September standards across the UK and Ireland. And even look at how much is pushing the warmth even out of Europe and pushing it back into Africa. Let's have a look at the European model, the ECMWF, and see what that's showing. It shows a little bit more warmth with that secondary surge. In comes the first surge of warmth, of course, at the moment here. Then we get the return of something a little bit fresher from the west-southwest. And then as that next area of low pressure then winds up, up comes that warm surge from the south here. It clips the southeastern part of the UK. But like the GFS, it's not showing that warmth progressing much to the north of far southern and southeastern England here. So it looks as if, the majority of Ireland, Northern England, Scotland stays in relatively fresh air during the course of next week here. And then, like the GFS, we'll have warm, high pressure out over the North Atlantic here. We've got a surge of heat coming up the eastern side of Europe, but down comes some chilly northerly air thanks to that high over the North Atlantic here. So a very interesting situation indeed, that's for sure, as we step towards the final 10 to 14 days of the month of August and meteorological summer, of course. So let's have a quick look at my retweets over the last few days here and see what has been happening, of course. Look at this here. This was the scene from Frankfurt in Germany. Major thunderstorms produced massive flooding both in downtown Frankfurt as well as the airport. Water rushing into buildings here in Frankfurt. Remarkable scenes indeed here. We are going to look at the Magellan Oscillation, the prospects of tropical enhanced activity over the Atlantic in the next week to 10 days here. We will look at that, in the next several days. So stay tuned for that here on marfloandweather.com. Interesting tweet here, by the way, from Dan Harris of the Met Office. He puts this tweet out to say that a very dry first half of August 2023 for the far north of Scotland, Fir Isle having its driest start on record with only 3.2 millimeters of rainfall measured. Of course, higher pressure has been dominant over the first half of August across the northern half of the British Isles, much wetter across the south. And he goes on to say that meanwhile, at the other end of the UK, Wadisham in Suffolk has had one of its wettest starts to August on record. What a dramatic flip around between the north and the south, isn't it? 64.6 millimeters of rain is the top 3% of its climate, which goes back to 1959. And he does say, because I sent him a tweet to ask how are we faring with regards to rainfall across the UK, and it says we're very close to average. But of course, with this type of setup, low pressure trying to attack high pressure over the Atlantic, it looks as if what we are going to try and do is we could still see some heavy rainfall events, through the final 2 weeks of August here. So we'll just have to wait and see with regards to the average rainfall here. We are still marginally below average temperature wise, but I would expect to see an increase in temperature over the final period of the month, and it'll be interesting to see how things wind up with regards to the overall average, both for temperature and for rainfall for the month of August here. And then I will do a check back and see how the summer forecast fared versus the reality of the pattern here. This was the temperatures across the UK yesterday. So you can see here plenty of warmth across the south and southeast here. Not much heat to speak about in the last several weeks here. This is the current temperatures. So we've got kind of upper teens to low 20s in the north, kind of mid to low 20s across the bulk of England and Wales. As you can see here, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland faring not too badly indeed. And we'll have a final look at Europe to see what it's showing regarding the heat. Plenty of warm temperatures to speak about, that's for sure. Finally, let's have another wee quick look and see if there's anything that I'm missing before the checkout. Interesting tweet here by Surrey Palms and Exotics as well. The past 5 to 6 weeks in general have been a very subpar period for weather, which began in the second week of July. The mid-July to mid-August period this year must be one of the cloudiest on record and one of the coolest by maximum temperature. A warm start to July and warm end to August will skew the average, which is quite interesting. A French Ryan Bruin, current UK August mean estimate at 15.4 Celsius. If it were to finish with this, summer 2023 would fall 8th warmest on record. Believe it or not, 8th warmest since 1884. Only the following were warmer: 2018, 2006, 2003, 2022, 76, 95, and 1933, which is quite interesting here. So yeah, some interesting statistic, that's for sure, coming up in the next wee while with regards to the overall summer. This was an interesting tweet here of a satellite image. This is a tweet by JW showing the parched UK landscape down the eastern side of Scotland and a large swathe of England over very, very dry conditions here. So this was during the August heat wave of last year. What a difference a year makes. Some places had not seen any rain for weeks, including Odium, which was on its 40th day with 0 rainfall. So, very different story altogether this year. Is it to do with the El Nino? Is it to do with the Mann-Julian Oscillation? Who knows? Could be to do with the Tonga volcanic eruption, warm sea surface temperatures around both the globe and the Atlantic here. Who knows? Some things we'll just never know exactly the reason for these changes here. But certainly, very big difference compared to last year. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and indeed hit that subscribe button if you're interested in meteorology and climate, interested in looking at the big picture, learning about the weather as opposed to just whether it's raining one day, sunny the next day. You'll get more information here on marfoganweather.com. So stay tuned. I'll be back again for the final weekday video tomorrow, and then of course the all-important global weather and climate report this upcoming Sunday. Lots to look forward to. Stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye for now.